Greetings, I'm Dev the Developer. This lesson is about URLs. We are going to break down every part of a URL, understand what each piece does, and read a full address from left to right without any mystery in it. URL stands for Uniform Resource Locator. It is the address you use to find a web page or file on the internet. Think of it as a postal address for the content on the web. Every resource that is reachable over the internet has a unique address that tells your browser where to go and how to get there. A URL is made up of several components. Each one has a very specific job. Let's go through them one at a time. The first part of any URL is the scheme. The scheme tells your browser which protocol to use when connecting to the server. For this class, the most common schemes are HTTP and HTTPS. HTTPS is simply HTTP with an encrypted connection. You may also see FTP for file transfers and mail to for email links, but HTTP and HTTPS are what you will encounter the most in web development. After scheme comes the subdomain. In this example, external is the subdomain. It points to a specific section or service within a domain. www is a traditional one. You might also see blog.example.com or shop.example.com. And then there is the domain name. After that, the TLD, which stands for top level domain, is the final segment. Common TLDs are .com, .org, .net, and .edu. Those four components get you to the right server and speaking the right language. The next pieces tell the server and the browser what to do once you are there. The port number is optional and usually invisible. HTTP defaults to port 80 and HTTPS defaults to port 443. When a server is running on a non-standard port, you have to say so explicitly in the URL. The path tells the server which resource you want. It looks like a file path, and in the early web it usually was. Today, it often maps to a route in code rather than an actual file sitting on disk. The query string starts with a question mark and passes parameters to the server. You've probably seen these before. When you're doing a search for something and the URL and the address bar changes, the long string after the question mark is the query string. Multiple parameters in the query string are separated by an ampersand. In this case, Q is a search term and restricted is, well, a filter of some kind. The last one is the fragment. It starts with a hash symbol and points to a specific section within a page. The fragment is not sent to the server at all. The browser handles it on its own. When the page loads, the browser scrolls to the element whose ID matches the fragment. We'll be using this later in the class. Let's read one URL and label each piece. The scheme is the protocol. Subdomain and domain together identify the server. Port says which port to connect on. Path locates the specific resource you are looking for. Query string sends additional data, and fragment scrolls to a specific section of the loaded page. You will not always see every component. Subdomains are optional. Port is usually omitted when it's default. Query strings and fragments only show up when the URL needs them. But every URL you write or work with in web development uses the same underlying structure. That is the anatomy of a URL. Now you know what every part of that address bar is actually doing, and we're going to be putting those concepts to work very soon. And when we do, don't just watch it, do it.